Hello and welcome to episode 5 of When the Flames Go Up, the ATFC podcast with me, Will Brown. Happy New Year to everyone. Welcome back to the podcast after a little festive break. We've got a little festive roundup of the Chesterfield away game and the doubleheader against Woking. And then obviously we go on to talk about West Brom away this coming Sunday. We do also make mention to the Tommy Widdrington interview with Rob Worrell on NL Full Time. I've put a link to that episode on Spotify on the episode description. So if you haven't listened to it yet, it's a great listen for any Shots fans. We get to hear Tommy talking confidently about this club and the players that he's brought in and recruitment. And we talk about it quite a lot and mention some of the important sound bites in the pod. So it might be worth jetting off, listening to that, coming back to round everything off before Sunday. So the quiz of the year, thanks for all the messages about it. And I was expecting more messages about the carnage near the end with the questions. So obviously we had Tim Cowden win with 34 points in the episode, but we had a late entrant from Matt Foot. He also got 34. So we'll split the trophy in half and get that sent to you. That there is no trophy, so maybe for 2024, if anyone's got any metalwork spare. Dan Cranston with 33 points. We had Joe Cookson on the show, got 27. And then Ian Pearce tied with Callum Watson on 25. So yeah, thanks very much for sending in your results. And for anyone else that didn't unofficially, you now know where you stand in the standings. That's enough from me. Enjoy the episode and I'll speak to you in a bit. Right, so we're doing the festive football roundup to begin this week. We've seen a defeat, a draw and a win since the 23rd of December against Chesterfield. 4-1 defeat away with Stokes opening the scoring, Oldacre scoring a free kick 2 minutes later, and then Chesterfield scoring 3 times in the second half when it looked like Aldershot were pretty much in the game until about the 70th minute and things started slipping away. And then we moved on to the Boxing Day clash with 5,900 in attendance. A 0-0 draw, entertaining 0-0, and a rare one for that fixture. It's normally always 2-1 to someone. And then we moved on to the New Year's Day game, which was at Kingfield. Aldershot coming through 3-2, despite a kind of late flurry from Woking. So we've got a panel of 3 of us, or 4 of us, 3 extra people and me. So we're going to get their thoughts on the festive football and what they think of getting 4 points from a possible 9. So yeah, let's get into it. Julian, what was your thoughts on the festive football this year?
Yeah, I would say a mixed bag, really. The Chesterfield game was an interesting one. We took the lead really early, and I was just really hoping that Chesterfield were going to have a bad day and that they were going to miss everything. But they didn't. They got back into it really quickly. Perhaps I'm being a little bit biased, but I'm not sure if it was a free kick in the first place. But it was a good free kick. You can't argue with the way Oldacre put that away. Big crowd just before Christmas, good turnout from the Shots, which was really pleasing as well. I thought we stayed in it for the majority of the game, even up to 65, 70 minutes. I really thought it could go either way. And of course, when the second one went in, perhaps the heads dropped a little bit. The crowd got even louder. And I think it was a bit flattering for them to win 4-1, if I'm honest. I think it was a lot closer than that. Then obviously our games with Woking, bit of a cagey affair at the Rec, or the EBB, I should say. I always say the Rec. Bit of a cagey affair. I think Stuart O'Keefe was still trying to get his match fitness back. It just felt as if he was slightly off the pace, but he's getting better and better every game. And I think in the New Year's Day one, we could see him back to full fitness, a full 90 minutes in there as well. But that game at the Rec, again, could have gone either way. Right, so how many chances did we have? How many chances did Laurent Tollage have to win it for us? but it was just one of those games. We're not going to win every game, so let's take the point, move on, go to their place, and dance all night because it was a great result. Their supporters were really really frustrated with how they played, but also I thought we played our best football for probably a month. There was so many of those cutting passes through the middle. I thought Ollie Scott was great down the left hand side. It's really nice to see, although I know we all love Ryan Glover, but I thought it was really nice to see a left footer getting a ball across, and that cross for when Tollage did his acrobatic kick and just missed so close. Goal of the season by a mile if that had gone in. But and I thought all round a solid festive roundup, win, lose, a draw. But the victory, I thought, on New Year's Day was so important because obviously we're not going to be in the league now for a couple of weeks. I was having visions if we didn't pick up 3 points that we could end up being, 4, 5, 6, 7 points behind the playoffs. And when you're playing catch up, it always puts that little bit of pressure on, doesn't it? So overall, really happy. We're in a good place. Looking forward to the weekend, which we'll come on to shortly. And yeah, I would say overall good festive period.
Yeah, brilliant. Yeah, I think going back to the very start, the free kick for Oldacre's goal. I mean, the first push is about 30 yards out, and he pushes him about 5 yards forward. Then he goes to the ground, and just think if it was 5 yards back, he probably doesn't get it that low, and Geordie can probably have a chance of getting it. But yeah, as you mentioned about the kind of crowd at Chesterfield, over 8,000 at this level, it was quite a sight, to be honest. And at one point, the four sides of the ground were singing, and it just felt, I couldn't believe I was at a National League game. So yeah, how about you, Joe? Your festive roundup?
I think with the Chesterfield game, I was again 4-1 just sounds really flattering to them. And I think it just shows how good they are that they win that game 4-1, really, because they've got so many goal scorers. And we did gift them a couple of goals, really. We played really, really well, I think. And on another day, we probably get a point. We've had quite a few gilt edge chances that we've not put away, which is a real shame because the very few sides have got a result up there. Although Solihull didn't they? I think so. Well done to them. But yeah, I watched that one from afar because I was away for Christmas. So my view of the game's obviously slightly different, although much better than the view of the game I had for a New Year's Day game where there was no stream whatsoever. So sat there for 45 minutes watching the National League TV logo with radio commentary. So I've only been able to watch the highlights for that one. But what a result that was. I won't cover the 0-0 too much because I don't think that's as an interesting one to talk about if you weren't there. But yeah, the 3-2. I love this group of players. I absolutely love them. The celebration scenes of the third goal with Haji Minogue with his hands behind his ears. I don't know if you've all seen it. It's absolutely hilarious. And then the scenes of Tommy at the end. I think they all really, really love playing for him at the moment. And I think we've all got behind that as fans. And I'm sure we'll talk a bit later about, who might stay or who might be potentially leaving at some point in the next 12 months. But I think they want to stay at the moment because it's so much fun to be a part of. So yeah, I'll leave it there.
Yeah. We'll touch on his on Widdrington's interview. But I mean, go and check it out. I mean, don't pause the podcast. But NL full time, about 10 minutes in, Widdrington has a chat with Rob Worrell, and obviously asks the obvious questions about recruitment and who might be going. So some good sound bites in there that we'll come on to later. And Ian, how did you see the festive football?
All points, quite happy really. Chesterfield expected nothing with how dominant they've been in the league. They're going to go past Wrexham, aren't they? With how many points they're on target for, assuming that nothing disastrous happens to them. So that was one to sort of quickly write off and move from. The Boxing Day game, I enjoyed it. Was a good game for a 0-0. Plenty happened. Right result, I didn't feel we did enough. But some good saves from Yordi made sure that we didn't lose. Enjoyed the extra crowd. So it's not just people jumping on the West Brom bandwagon. People want to come and watch the other matches. So that's welcome boost to the club finances. And similar position to Joe, myself, for the Woking match, where I was decided I would purchase NLTV for the first time. And guess what? It didn't work. So watch the highlights, listen to Rob Worrell, etc. And it looked like normal service resumed at Kingfield in terms of our good record overall that took a bit of a battering on New Year's Day last year. But we're back to our best and 3 points from that. But when we resume league action, I don't know what the gap will be depending on games played by the other teams around us, but we're in touch and that playoff dream is still alive.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. I think the 4 points in comparison to last year's 4-1 there as well. It felt like such a big game going there to the ground. And you could see he's clearly got the players like desiring to get that win at Woking as well. I mean, the celebrations for the first goal as well. I know Joe alluded to the third, in front of the Woking fans, which is superb. But Tolad's just got a point in at the badge. Oh, I mean, God, I'm genuinely falling in love with this team and the players. And a win away at Woking now puts it in kind of folklore. I was speaking to my mate Dan on the way out, and he said he's so happy for Widdrington to get a win here because plenty of rubbish managers have done it, and we've had these amazing moments at Woking, and it's not. But now it feels like it's part of something, part of a collective. Yeah, I guess it's probably worth talking about Widdrington and his kind of the comments he made on the podcast NL Full Time, saying that no one will be leaving in this transfer window, and if they do, they'll be with us until the end of the season. So a loan back option. He kind of mentioned Stokes and Tolaj in that same breath, but I'd just like to get your thoughts on it, really. If you listen to it, or if you're just rounding up any rumours that you've heard about Josh Stokes. So yeah, Julian, what do you think?
I've had the pleasure of listening to it, and I really love Tommy Widdrington's passion for the club, but also for local football as well. There was one bit where he mentioned Portsmouth and obviously his Southampton connection there. That still runs deep, and that was a long time ago that happened when he was playing for Southampton. But there's lots of rumours going around with Stokes, isn't there, and Tolaj. I've heard Portsmouth are interested in both of them. So many rumours. 95% of them probably aren't true, but it's just what it is. I was really pleased to hear that Tommy is insisting that we keep them for the season. Whether or not that will happen is another question. I think if we do get a serious bid from a championship club with a sell-on fee, etc., whether or not it would be too hard to turn down, because I could honestly see him fitting into a Sunderland or an Ipswich. I really could. The way both of those two play, he would fit in and he would start scoring goals straight away. And suddenly you've got a player who's on the edge of the Premiership when 6 months ago he was playing for Sudbury. It's just unbelievable, really. But lots of rumours going around. I don't think I'll believe any of them till I see something formal. Just desperately hoping that Tommy gets the wish from the board and is able to keep the players until the end of the season. He mentioned also on the call, I don't want to steal the thunder too much, but he was talking about 4 new contracts as well, and he's really expecting that all of them will sign as well. So, just going back to the guys' points earlier on, this team love playing for us. They really do. They enjoy training. They enjoy playing. You can just see it on their faces when those goals went in at Woking. They weren't just playing for themselves; they were playing for us, and it was just again another memorable moment in this incredible season so far.
Yeah, I think that was what came across so much, that passion that he has for for the game as well, and playing attacking football and playing on the front foot as well. He kind of mentioned about the goal difference being a bit unusual as well, which I thought was, yeah, when we all see it. He also sees it. Whereas I feel like other managers that we've had previously have probably wouldn't even allude to the fact that they've got a kind of slightly negative goal difference, or it would be kind of push it under the carpet kind of thing. Joe, I don't know if you listened to it, or if you got any thoughts on what you heard.
Yeah, I listened to it. It was what a fantastic interview that was. Just coming back to your last point, you were just mentioning about he's noticed the goals and how many we're conceding, but he also made some excellent points about people are getting their money's worth at the Rec or the EBB this year. And I think for years we've been saying it doesn't matter, who you bring in. The one thing that will bring supporters to the ground is goals. And I think goals at both ends, whether we like at both ends or not, it's for entertainment fundamentally, isn't it? That's why we go and watch football, and obviously for passion and all of that stuff. But we want to be entertained. And if we're not entertained, if you're 50-50 on going, you'll choose something else if you're not a passionate fan. So yeah, I think he's so passionate about the club, and he knows what's going to bring people in, and he's got players in to fit his system and to score goals. And he would rather outscore at the moment than scrap out a 1-0. Even though he says he likes to scrap out a 1-0, I think scoring's what he really likes, isn't it? And
Yeah.
the rumors about Stokes. I mean, I've read everything. He's going to every club in the Championship. If you go onto Twitter or X, whatever it's called, he's going to Oxford United for 50p, and then he's off to Sunderland for $1 million. He's been watched by a scout from every club, and I wouldn't be surprised if he is actually being watched by a scout from every club, because I think that is where clubs are looking now for those options, especially clubs in League One. I know we mentioned Championship, but I wouldn't be surprised if it was a top end League One club that came in for him if he did go, because I think he'd be a guaranteed starter there if he did go. But yeah, so many rumours. I think the buy to loan option, I think, is a very likely one if we were to accept a bid, because he's got, I think, a year after this, and I think Tommy said something about possibly an option for another year after that. Not that he would. I don't think he'd take that. But that was interesting to hear as well.
Yeah, it's good to hear that kind of. We've got the kind of power and we've got the assets, and we're not going to kind of bend over for. I mean, it's just the shades from Ini Effiong earlier last year to now, where we're in this strong position with assets and looking at basically waiting. Do you know what I mean? Waiting for the best offer, and the best offer for us. And the fact that he wants to keep this team together for the season is, I mean, I was beaming when I was listening to it. Ian, did you manage to have a listen? And any thoughts on Widdrington?
I've got it queued up ready for my school run tomorrow, so I haven't listened yet. But the great thing is, as you said, we're not in a position where we've got to accept anything. We hold all the cards, if not most of them. And it is a huge change from Metfield last year, where as much as we didn't like the deal, I think we had no choice really but to accept that. But there's now cash in the bank with the cup run. The fact more supporters are coming to watch. So wherever it is that Stokes ends up, it'll be a good deal for all concerned, I think. Seeing the rumours, I had a friendly Sports Norwich message me, say, "Oh, is this guy any good?" And obviously I was able to talk at length to him about how good he was and send him all the clips and everything like that. And I can't remember ever doing that with a player before. So that's really, really good news. Gut feel is, I think that's right. I don't think there will be any moves in January, any departing. And if anyone departs, it's going to be more probably the fringe players and people that haven't particularly featured. Whereas our main guns, if you like, Stokes to large bar, we've got them for the second half.
Yeah, I think that's. I mean, it's just great to hear and have a strong squad, and it even kind of pertain to the fact that he might be banging on Shahid Azim's door to try and get some more in January if we if we get to the end of, past Bishop Stortford or something, we've got a big opportunity to try and go for the playoffs this year. Yeah, I guess if we throw it back to the kind of the festive football, I just wanted to mention a few performances. The most recent one was, and he mentions this in the podcast as well. So I feel like it's just living rent free in my head at the moment. But he talks about Kobe Rowe playing right wing back on New Year's Day, and it was something that Hugo kind of laughed off when he first mentioned it to him as well. I thought he was brilliant at right wing back, and it really threw Woking off. So yeah, just a testament to Widdrington's ability to get his players to play that system. And yeah, it's been brilliant. So yeah, I guess it'd be nice to have a little look at some of the kind of key players for the festive period. I think Harfield and Harries were pretty solid all throughout, and especially in the Woking game, I think Harfield was excellent, and Harries was so calm on the ball in the centre of that defence that, I mean, I was nervous for him every time because he'd do a little jink past, but I mean, they're so confident that it just works every time. And of course, it's not going to come off sometimes. I mean, Geordie nearly spooned one into his own goal, but for an even bigger bobble than he was imagining. So yeah, any word on your main men for this festive period? Let's go to you, Julian.
Yeah, I'd echo Ollie Harfield, and I've mentioned him before. He is one of my favourites, and I'd say credit to Tommy Widdrington as well, because he has taken, 3 or 4 of our players from last year, and I think with every single one, and he mentions this again in the interview, that he's sort of converted them into different roles, and I think they've all flourished. Harfield last year in a defensive role worried me, if I'm being honest. But now he's the first name on the team sheet for me, and the way he bombs forward as well from a centre half back three position. Some of those passes in that Woking game were just top draw, and I think it says it all that he's played every single minute of every single game so far. That tells you everything I think you need to know. But yeah, for me, Ollie Harfield, and I mentioned to Ollie Scott, I thought bearing in mind he's probably still trying to get up to match fitness, I thought he put in a really good shift as well.
Yeah, I think the other thing, I know we mentioned Glover earlier. I think he had a knock as well. So good from Ollie Scott to come in and really challenge from that position as well in his half absence. It did still come on, obviously, because Glover can't be excluded. What about you, Joe? From the bits that you watched, who would you select as your kind of man of the festive period?
Yeah, I think Harfield's a bit of an unsung hero, isn't he, really? I'll be totally honest and echo a little bit what Julian said. When I first saw him at the start of last season, when he used to play under Molesley, I really didn't rate him at all, because he primarily is in a defensive position, isn't he? And I quite frankly didn't think he could defend very well. But we've got a young team, and Harfield's clearly got the right attitude, and he's been taken on his coaching, and he's an excellent defender now, and he's excellent going forward. And I think he's one of those players that when we talk about these players that might be going, I know Harfield's signed a new contract, but he's still very young. And I think he's one we should actually be a little bit worried about who's looking at him, because that position in football at the moment is used so much, and is decent players in that position are few and far between. So yeah, he's excellent. Glover's improved massively. He was quite, I think, a little bit inconsistent last season, and seems to have found a lot more consistency under Widdrington. But my biggest one is, who I feel a little bit sorry for, is Jack Barham, because we talk about Trillage and Stokes all the time. Jack Barham's got over 10 goals this season. And if we thought we'd have a player who had over 10 goals at this stage of the season, and we wouldn't really be talking about him, if you told me that last year. But in fact, we've got 3 players on over 10 goals. I think we're the only team in the top 6 divisions with 3 players over 10 goals each. Don't quote me on that, but that is pretty amazing, really, considering we've had the strikers we've had, the inverted commas strikers we've had at this club in the last 10 years, have barely managed 10 goals between them. It's pretty amazing. So yeah, Barham gets my shout out because he just doesn't stop running, and seems to get more shots on target than not compared to last season. So good man.
Yeah, I mean, Barham is lovely to watch as I mean, especially in that front line as well, because he works so hard. I mean, him trying to plough that lonely furrow at the back end of last season when he joined was obviously everyone had a kind of slightly negative view of him and was like, well, he's not going to score. He can't score 20 goals. Like he hasn't got the full game or whatever. But I think in a front three, he's showing that he can score. From mainly in the box. To be fair, he's a great poacher.
I think also one thing that part of his game, his aerial ability for someone of his height is quite astounding, really. Again, we've had, I won't name too many ex-strikers' names, but strikers that are 6'2" come through our club and not win a header, and he's about half that height and seems to be able to win everything in the air. So I find that quite a strong point of his game as well.
Yeah, definitely. It's the way he times the jump against a centre back, and even if he doesn't head the ball, he's annoying because he gets in the way of their jump, and it makes them second guess slightly. Obviously, the very experienced centre backs still know where the ball's going to go and head it, but it's just annoying to have this guy just jump in front of you all the time. And you, Ian, who would you select if not anyone else that's been chosen so far?
I'm struggling to think of anyone that's not already been named. I think we summed it up really with who's been mentioned. Quite enjoyed watching Minoga. I think that's been a positive. He's not ours, is he? And we're going to miss him over the next month. So he's somebody we won't necessarily see long term, but at least we've got him for the rest of the season. Unless, of course, Portsmouth do recall him after the African Nations Cup.
Yeah, well, I mean, if Portsmouth's being touted for Tola Josh Stokes, then if they can throw in Minoga the other way, I'd see that as a good deal if we can get some money. Yeah, I suppose the only other talking point, I suppose, at the end of the Woking game is the Stokes second yellow dive descent misses West Brom away. Now, Widdrington pretty much confirmed that today. Although even he didn't seem like certain of it, which I just think shows you how ridiculous the ruling is. Because I didn't know, to be honest. Most people had a general inkling, but I didn't have a clue what the law was for a second yellow that's not a straight red. What did you think of that on Ian? Did you see it? Have you seen that dive?
I've seen it. Yeah, it's very, very unfortunate. And I have to guess that it's dissent because otherwise it's definitely not a dive, is it? And you think with the Woking defender's got his hands on his shirt, so it has to be dissent, unfortunately. And yeah, the clarity around suspension, I saw about 10 different things put forward as to everyone going, he can play because of this, or he can't play because of that. So that just shows, yeah, how unclear the rules are. But my gut feeling when I was texting someone when we went down to 10 men was, oh no, he's going to miss the West Brom game. But in terms of how we've been talking about Stokes, he's got many, many bigger games than that to come in his career.
Well, not least the replay at the Rec where he'll score the winner. That's how it works, isn't it? But yeah, even on the FA website, it says the kind of section and the ruling, like the law, then the section. So even if you go to that reference in the rule book, like I've already had to click on like 4 PDFs to get to this point. You finally get there, and it's not specific. It's just a list of all the misdemeanors that a player can do, like dive, like descent. I thought it was, I don't know, maybe I'm being too pernickety, but tell us what it actually is. It's not very rare it's quite rare that we'd need to look at those things. What was your view on it, Joe, after you saw the kind of replays?
I think the referee's made a call on something that he's not had a full view of. And then I think when he's made that call, he's then realised if he thinks it's a dive, he's got to book him. And I think it's just really unfortunate because I think sometimes in those situations, referees, if that's the first yellow, will happily give it out. but a second yellow for something they think is a dive that I don't think he's had a full view of. He's kind of sort of held that second yellow up, and he's realised that's then a red card. And we've got, yeah, I mean, in any other game, it's not as much of an issue, but with the impact that red card's had for a tie against West Brom in the FA Cup, which any other year we're massive underdogs for, but this year with a player like Stokes, I think we've got a genuine chance of an upset. Without him, the task's a lot bigger. And yeah, I think I've seen the still frame of the Woking player with his arm literally got him in an arm bind. And you can't claim that's a dive. If someone's grabbing your arm and pulling you towards the ground, you're going to fall over. But, that's just my opinion.
Yeah, I think, I mean, the descent thing has slightly irked me because he makes the decision, or the free kick happens so quickly as well. He gives the free kick and then, like, basically immediately as he falls on the floor. So that's what cast my mind into doubt that it was descent. But maybe that's where the yellow came from. I don't know. How about you, Julian? What did you think of that?
Yeah, I think the angle that the ref was watching the game from made it really hard for him to make a decision. He could only see Stokes in front of the player. I don't think he could see the arm lock. And if you look at it from one particular angle, there's a moment when he does go over that it looks like there is a slight push, in my opinion. So I think it's a genuine penalty, to be honest. And Stokes is obviously really upset because it's gone against him. So I may be wrong, but I think the booking was for faking a dive. I'm not sure if it was for descent, but I don't think we'll ever know.
And there lies the problem. We may never know.
When you see the referee give the yellow card, he doesn't immediately go to the red. So maybe he thought at that point, right, first time, guy's not on a yellow, I need to do something. I'll give him the yellow. Hang on, I've obviously got to give the red now. So that could be the error that the refs made there in not knowing who it was or when it was, etc. So maybe what I've said just now about dissent, perhaps I'm leaning towards
the ref
what I've just remembered, basically.
Yeah, there were so many. I mean, those all three seemed like viable options. I think because of the way it happened. What did you think, Joe? Sorry.
I was just say, bring back just like a 10-minute sin bin. The punishment would have felt far better.
Because we still wouldn't have had him for the added time, which is fine. We don't need him. We didn't need him eventually, luckily. So let's have a little look at West Brom away. Let's get excited for it. So Old Shot play West Brom away on Sunday, 2:00 kickoff. Over 4,600 or nearly 4,600 tickets sold in the Smethwick Road end. And yeah, what are your main thoughts about it? I'm going to come to you, Ian, first.
Oh, can't wait. I've been thinking about it for weeks. And new ground, journey up. I'm going to drive to my brother who lives in Hall Green, Birmingham, and then you can get a direct train to the Hawthorns from there. So that's what we're going to do. And I'm absolutely astounded that we've sold as many tickets as we have. I thought on my previous appearance, 1,000, 2,000 tops. So it's great that so many people are on board. I know there's a few people going, oh, well, we won't have as many at Bishop Stortford, but the more tickets we sell, the more money for the club. And that's got to be the main thing about this, that if it ends on Sunday, then we banked a serious amount of cash from this. Without Stokes, I don't know, the chances are not so high, but I think we can, I still feel fairly cautiously optimistic that I think if Championship team, they're going to be more interested in getting the Premier League, I think. And I think we'll get a sneaky 1-0 win like Stockport, or we'll do enough to take them back to a replay, perhaps after a 0-0.
I mean, that's the kind of optimism we need to start things off. I suppose it's worth saying that West Brom are currently 5th in the Championship. the last two wins were against Norwich and Leeds, both 1-0s. The other games in the last four were Middlesbrough and Swansea. They lost those both 1-0. A Leeds supporting mate at work said they're very dirty. But I mean, I'm assuming that's some sort of, that's Leeds for you. The only time they've conceded more than 2 goals in a game, they've done it once this season. That was to John Eustace's Birmingham City, 3-1, and that was in October. All the other games have been 1s and 2s. So yeah, that's. How about you, Joe? What are your thoughts on Sunday's game and your plans for the day?
Yeah, coming up from, obviously I live near Exeter, so straight up the M5 and then literally just off the M5 and we're at the Hawthorns. So bringing a few friends from home. So I always find it interesting reading on various platforms to go, oh, where are all these people, at various other away games? Well, my mate from work who fancies coming along, if I say, do you want to go to West Brom or do you want to go to Kidderminster in a couple of weeks, when he doesn't even support us in the first place, I'd rather he came to one than none. So we take what we can get, and I think that's accounts those sort of people coming account for a lot of the extra sometimes, because it is a great day out. You're going to be in a great atmosphere, and it's a big ground to visit. So and a lot of people who come, sometimes you're going to choose that game over others. So I think it's brilliant. I think we've got I mentioned it earlier, we have got a chance. Without Stokes, it is a smaller chance, I think, just because he is championship quality. And I think he could, he is good enough to cause problems to a championship defence with the way he uses his body and the way he turns. And he's that good. But Tollard, again, he is going to cause mayhem for any defender because of his physicality. I think West Brom have got some of their forward options out at the moment, so they might not be as much of a threat. We won't see as much of the ball as we do in the National League, but we are an excellent counter-attacking side, and as Swindon learnt very quickly 3 times in the space of 10 minutes. If we catch them by surprise, we could be in for a replay, if not a win. But a clean sheet would be the most amazing thing on Sunday. I don't think that's going to happen, but imagine if it did.
That would be lovely. That'd be a lovely squeaky 0-0 or something, or a 1-0 clinging on. So you alluded to there that their kind of forward options are a bit shot to pieces. They have got many. I mean, I'm probably going to do them a disservice, but they've recalled Jovan Malcolm from Cheltenham, who's a forward, I don't think he's scored in any of his loan appearances. He was at Solihull 2022 and at Cheltenham this year. So they've got Grady Diangana out. He's gone to the AFCON. Jed Wallace and John Swift are doubtful. They were kind of out in the last couple of games. Adam Reach is returning from a long-term injury. They've just had Jeremy Sarmiento recalled on loan by Brighton, who's then gone straight to Ipswich. Lots of West Brom fans are bemused by that, to be honest. And long-term out, they've got Matt Phillips and Josh Nadger. So they're not too happy about how many players they've got available. So when I looked at the actual available squad, it didn't scream championship at me. But of course, they're probably all much fitter and better players than I would give them credit for. Julian, what about you? How are you feeling for the weekend?
Yeah, I'm really excited. I'll be travelling up on the morning. I'm going to get there nice and early, sample the Birmingham atmosphere a little bit, walk around the streets, waving my scarf, do the things that you only do a few times in your lifetime. But I'm similar to the other guys. I think there's a genuine chance. There doesn't appear to be that many goals in the West Brom team, and I think we're going to get a fair bit of the ball. They do set up quite defensive, and I think with Stokes missing, I think what we're going to do, and of course I may be wrong, but I think we're going to put 3 in the midfield. So I think it will be O'Keefe. I think Tommy Willard will come in, and he'll probably be alongside Frost as well, but possibly giving Willard the license to run forward into that sort of Stokesy space just behind the front two. But I think if we set up with three in the middle and still keep our two up front, but give those guys a bit of a license, I can see West Brom sort of not being that front-footed. I think they're going to sit back a little bit as well. So I can't see many goals in it. If you look at I think you mentioned it at the start, Liam. The goals aren't there. The goals are not there. They're winning 1-0. They're losing 1-0. So I think that it's going to be a close game. I'd be interested to know what the crowd's going to be from West Brom's side, because if we had a cup tie against Westfield or Farnham Town, we're not going to turn up for it. So I was looking on their website just to get a feel for how many tickets they've sold, and I'm not that sure if they've sold a huge amount. So, if we've got close on 5,000 there and they've got 5, 6 or 7,000.
I had a look last year at last year's attendances to West Brom in the fourth round of the FA Cup. They played Bristol City and there was 15,000 there. Obviously, Bristol City are I would say a very well supported club, but they wouldn't have had any more tickets than we were entitled to. And I don't think that's not a massive draw for West Brom playing Bristol City. So I think we won't get there won't be as many as that, but I think maybe 13,000 possibly. See how much they want to see the Widdrington's older shot.
Yeah. Most of the comments have mainly under the Twitter post, to be honest. So I don't know how much you can believe it, but they're still not happy with the £15 ticket. And I think, I saw someone today say that I think they tweeted about kids for £1, and then someone said, why don't they just make it kids for like £1 for everyone? And then someone had to go into the maths of how much that would cost the club. I don't know. I wonder if it will. Yeah, 12,000. It's going to look weird in that massive stadium, which holds 26,850. Wrote that down. What do you think, Ian, about the attendance and general vibe of the place?
Yeah, I'm thinking 10 to 12. I think they'll have maybe slightly more, but not by a lot. Yes, it is Twitter and people moaning about the 15, and plenty, I think, saying it should have been 5. I can understand the odd gripe saying a tenner, perhaps, but £5 or 3 has been mentioned is ridiculous. And 15 to me sounds very fair, considering that we pay 20, 22 most weeks, no matter where we go to watch Aldershot, whether it's at home or away in the National League. So 15 is a very, very fair price for me. Not a draw, as I think Joe mentioned earlier. So West Brom's not going to necessarily come out to see Aldershot, but 10 to 12,000 would be my guess.
Yeah. Well, let's see. I've got a couple of Hawthorns facts. Now, it's the highest UK ground of the 92 Premier League and Football League clubs. We know that. That's 551 feet, apparently. I want to ask, what is the lowest ground above sea level in the UK? Does anyone want to shout in?
I thought we were done with the quiz last week.
Have that.
I suppose is it one of the seaside clubs, or something like Grimsby?
Oh, ding, ding, ding. There he is, straight away. Blundell Park is the lowest. 2 feet above sea level. It's in danger. Carrow Road and Blundell Park, the first to go when the sea level rises. And then there is one. One is the highest above sea level ground in the UK, full stop. And I didn't know this, that it's not a Football League club. Does anyone fancy a shout at the highest ground above sea level in the UK?
Is it in Scotland?
It's not, no.
Oh.
Is it a decent size non-league ground? Is it?
No. I think the capacity is 5,000. It's famous for its water.
Buxton.
1,000 feet above sea level, apparently. So if we go there, you've got to do at least 2 weeks training in Canada or something. Grand. Mentioning the goals. Their top goal scorer is Brandon Thomas Asante. He scored 8 goals for them. But of the definitely available players, only 2 of their defenders have scored more than 1, and they've scored 2. So I imagine if they are going to score, it might be from set pieces as well, to be honest. we might maybe a bit susceptible to those. Yeah, I guess that let's round things off with a bit of a score predictions. We kind of mentioned them a little bit, but Ian, what do you reckon?
Yeah, I'm going to go for goalless draw.
0-0. Nice. Joe, what do you think?
I'm going to go for 4-2 to West Brom.
Wild. Where are they going to get 4 from? Who knows? And Julian, what do you reckon?
2-2 draw.
2-2.
They're going to equalise in the last minute and force a replay.
Oh no, don't give me flashbacks to Middlesbrough. Lucas Jutkowicz. Thomas Asante's got that kind of name, hasn't he? Remember the name, Jutkowicz. Yeah, my last kind of thought was that Carlos Cobran, I don't know how to actually pronounce that name. His Spanish manager for West Brom. He's 6'2". That's massive. Managers shouldn't be that height. Thoughts?
How do you respond to that?
Where'd you go? What's he going to look like against Widdrington? That's what I want to know.
Who's the shortest manager we ever played against? I don't know that. Come back to that next week, folks.
It's really hard to find. If they're not an ex-footballer as well, their height is irrelevant to the entire internet. So yeah, I'm going up on the Saturday for West Brom. We're going up for the night, and then hopefully a nice big day out. Probably end up in Snobs in Birmingham. Listen to some indie bangers. Ground floor if you're interested. I think it's £6 entry.
Where's everyone drinking on the day? What sort of pubs have people heard?
What is that pub? I've got it on my Google Maps.
Someone tell me the Vine or something, or have I made that up? That is a way friendly, I believe.
Be great if we could take over one of those pubs, wouldn't it? Get some singing going.
Yeah.
Wave the scarves. Tell West Brom we're here.
Let all 10 of them know that we're here. Yeah, I've got a list of pubs. The one near the Hawthorns is called the Royal Oak, which I think is one that people have been saying to go to. It's about a 5-minute walk from Hawthorns, so it seems pretty good.
Okay.
There we have it. That's episode 5 of When the Flames Go Up. Thanks for listening. All that's left for me to say is enjoy West Brom away. However you're getting there, wherever you're travelling from, whoever you're bringing. Enjoy it. These games don't come around too often. And soak it in. And if I bump into you in Snobs, then I'll buy you a drink. As long as you don't bring the 4,500 other fans that are coming with us. So, yeah, up the shots. Let's go.